So if you're looking for a cheap and a budget phone from Samsung, then the A series lineup is actually the only way to look at. But if you're looking for phones that are really even cheaper amongst the A series lineup, then it doesn't get anything cheaper than the A04 series, which then comes with two different series, the A04e and the A04s, which are the phones that I'm going to be actually reviewing today. Now, you won't really find any competitive specs with these two phones, but is that really something bad? I mean, at a really cheap price point, which is the lowest tier that you can get in Samsung's lineup, is that actually a bad thing? In this video, we'll do a quick review and we'll find out whether you should actually consider buying one of these phones, the A04e or the A04s, and see how they actually do for the price point that they have. Alright, so quickly, I have both of these phones right here with me, and I'm going to do a quick comparison side by side, Samsung A04e and Samsung A04s. Let's go ahead and look at the specs here on the box. So first, looking at the A04e, we have 32 gigs of internal storage. We also have 3 gigs of RAM, which is pretty basic. This also comes in 4 gigs of RAM, and this goes up to 128 gigs of internal storage, and the color that we have is black. Looking at the A04s, we have 128 gigs of internal storage, and this also comes with 4 gigs of RAM. This actually has a 3 gig variant as well, so this is the top of the line. It also comes with 64 gigs of internal storage if you want to go to the cheaper line, and this comes with the copper color. Okay, let's go ahead and quickly unbox these and see what we have in the boxes. So we have the A04s over here, and we have the A04e right here side by side. So both of these have an Infinity V display, which means that they have a notch on the camera, which is in the middle. The A04e comes with a dual camera, and the A04s comes with the triple camera setup. Yes, it has a battery as well. So thank you so much for mentioning that, Samsung. The A04s actually comes with a fingerprint sensor, so I'll discuss that in a little bit. Let's see the rest of the details. So up top we have the phones, and my apologies for that. Okay. We have the booklets, which contain some very minimal paperwork. I'm not going to go over that. We have both the similar chargers, which are 7.8 watts, and then we have both of them have a USB-A to a USB-C cable. So now that we have that on the side, let's go ahead and unwrap both of these phones. We have the copper color in the A04s, which is, I think, a very pretty color in my opinion. Probably the best that comes within the lineup. Okie dokie. All right. Okay, so this is a gloss finish, although it seems like it has a bit of a texture, but it doesn't. It's just a design, but it's a gloss finish on the back, which means it's gonna attract a lot of fingerprints. And for this one, we have a simple black color. This is also a shiny back, so it also has a lot of fingerprints already. As you can see, the A04s has a triple camera setup here on the back, and the A04e has a dual camera setup, which immediately tells you about these phones. So this is kind of the more premium version from both of these phones. So the A04s is going to be the more expensive one out of these two. Both are very similar designs, but the A04s actually has a few qualities which I really like. And I don't know if it's only me or does everyone actually get excited for phones like these, because from flagships you can expect them to be the best of the best. That's what your expectation is. But from phones like these, which are literally the cheapest that you can get, doesn't get any lower than this. And when they come with a few features that are pretty, I wouldn't say flagship, but at least at this price point you don't expect them, I think it gets me very excited. I personally really like reviewing phones like that. So flagships, they're always going to be the best of the best. You know, you can't really expect anything less. But then when you see a phone that costs between 300 dirhams to 500 dirhams, and then you get some good features which you didn't expect, I think that's the best feeling when it comes to these phones. So let's go ahead and turn on these phones. But before that, let's go ahead and look at the design of them. Both are pretty similar when it comes to the thickness of the phones, and both are unibody plastic design phones, so there's no metal or glass of any kind except for the front. We have, both of them are kind of curved, so they fit well in the hands, they feel good in the hands, but yes, they're not squeaky in any way, but you can't tell that this is plastic. Now on the sides we have the volume rockers here, and we have the power buttons here, but the power button on the A04s actually is embedded with a fingerprint sensor, so that's really cool to see. We also have the SIM trays on the left side of the phones. Now these also support dual SIM as well as a micro SD card. So if you're looking to expand the storage, you have the option on these phones. Both of these phones also come with a 3.5mm audio jack. They come with a USB-C port, and they also come with the speaker, which is down here. And it's kind of weird that, or funny I would say, that the cheaper the phones get, the more things you have. So these have storage, external storage options with micro SDs, and they also have headphone jack. So the more expensive a phone gets, they start taking away features, which is kind of funny for me. Now, turning on both of these phones, when it comes to the displays, they're pretty much similar except for one big feature. Both of them are a 6.5-inch LCD display. It's a 720p display, so it's not full HD, it's not 1080p. So that's kind of like a drawback. That's where you kind of see the cost saving measures that Samsung has taken on both of these devices. So I would say that's kind of like a drawback. The colors are exactly the same because the screens are the same. When it comes to the resolution, the pixel per inch density is also the exact same at 270. And when it comes to the brightness, these both have the exact same brightness at 300 nits. But one big feature about the A04s is that it has a 90 hertz display. Yes, a 90 hertz display on a phone that literally starts at around 350 dirhams. Which is amazing to see at this price point. The A04e, which I mentioned, is the cheaper out of these two, so you don't see a 60 hertz display over there. But then again, you also see a cheaper pricing, so it's kind of justified. But I'm excited about the A04s because of the 90 hertz display that you see, and this is a dynamic display, so it does go down to 60 if you need to. Now, another area that's a little bit exciting for me, at least on the A04s, is the performance side. So these are, as I mentioned earlier, these are not competitive in any way. But the A04s actually comes with Exynos chip, and the A04e comes with MediaTek's chip. Now this has MediaTek's MT6765, which is a Helio P35 chip. And this comes with Exynos 850 chip, which is built on an 8 nanometer platform. This is actually built on a 12 nanometer platform. Performance-wise, they're pretty much the same. So if we look at the scores here, not the same, but a little bit, just a slight difference. And that may be because this one is the 3 gig variant. This also comes in a 4 gig variant. So that's where you kind of see the difference. If you look at the scores here, the A04s hit around 171,000 points. The A04 E hit around 154,000 points, so not a big difference. For everyday tasks, it's a pretty decent chip, and it has been built on an 8 nanometer platform, so this one is naturally going to be more efficient. Both come with Android 13, which I'm happy to report. I expected these to come with Android 12. They initially were coming with Android 12, but the newer versions now come with Android 13, which are based on One UI 5 Core Edition. Now, when it comes to the battery, both of these have the exact same battery life. So they have 5,000 milliamperes of battery, which again is something that you don't see on such cheap phones. You usually start to get to see 5,000 milliamperes on phones that are way more expensive than this, but I'm happy to report that yes, you do see a 5,000 milliampere battery on both of these devices. The only thing that I don't like is the charging. So it only supports 15 watts of fast charging, and in the box it only comes with a 7.8 watt charger, so it's going to take a little bit of time to charge. Now having a 5,000 milliampere battery means that they're going to be very efficient. Now, these are LCD displays, and this does come with a 90 hertz display, so if you do have it at 90 hertz at all time, this is not going to run you as long as you'll see it on the A04e. So this one may give you a little bit of a better battery, but this one also has a more efficient chip, so it's kind of like a trade-off. So you may see very similar battery times on both of them. Now, when it comes to the cameras, another really good feature about the A04s is that this comes with the main 50 megapixel camera, and the A04e comes with a 13 megapixel camera. So that's a huge difference. The A04s actually surprisingly takes very good photos, even in low light conditions. I was able to see the results, and it's pretty decent. I didn't have anything to complain. At this price point, there's nothing to complain about the camera. 50 megapixel camera is something that you wouldn't expect at this price point, but Samsung has put it. So I'm glad to see that, you know, this is really good for social media, for everyday photography. This will shoot at 1080p at 30 FPS. It doesn't have 4K options for video resolution, so that's a bit of a downside. But again, it is something forgivable at this price point. This also will shoot at 1080 at 30 FPS. No 4K capabilities, but the result overall overall you're going to see a better result on the A04s. For the second and third camera, we have both 2 megapixel cameras. We have one macro 2 megapixel camera and then another 2 megapixel depth camera, and over here as well we get another 2 megapixel camera on the back. For the front, we have both the exact same camera as well, which is a 5 megapixel camera, but on the A04s you'll be able to shoot at 720 when it comes to video. Finally, coming down to the price, which is the most exciting part about both of these phones, I have to mention first of all that both of these phones are not officially available at Samsung UAE store, so you won't be able to find these over there, but you can actually find these on Noon, and you can actually find these, maybe I think you'll be able to find this on the online store for Sheriff DG. If you want to walk to Sheriff DG and expect to find any of these phones, you're not going to find them. If you want to buy these phones, the price for the A04e starts at 300 dirhams for the variant that I have in hand, which is 3 gigs at 32 gigs of internal storage. So that's 300 dirhams, which is honestly nothing. And if you want to buy the A04s, this will start at around 350 dirhams, and it goes up to around, 400 dirhams for this one, goes up to around 500 dirhams for the one that I have in hand. So if you go for the 3 gig variant with 32 gigs of storage, then it's a little bit cheaper. And similar for this, if you buy the 4 gig variant at 128 gigs, this will cost you around 400 dirhams. So 300 dirhams to 500 dirhams, both of these phones are available. And again, these are pretty great phones if you want a Samsung phone, and if you want to buy something cheap, it doesn't get any lower than this. And literally they'll cost you the same as a ticket for Ski Dubai. I mean, it's 300 dirhams, 500 dirhams, not a bad choice at all for both of these phones. I personally would go for the A04s because of the better camera, the Exynos chip, and also because of the 90 hertz display on the A04s. That's my opinion on both of these phones. Let me know what you guys think of both of these phones. Is this something that you would consider buying? And does the price make sense to you guys? Let me know down in the comments below. That was my review for the A04e and the A04s. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.